One of the things that I learned from one of my favorite preaching teachers is if you can preach a sermon that convicts you of something you need to hear, at least you know that one person in the room will respond to your sermon. So this series could be that, something that I need to hear. But I have a feeling that it's not just that. If I were to ask you all how you are, I would guess that some of you would say tired, especially probably those of you who are not sleeping here at the church last night. And probably most of you would include the word busy if I asked you how you're doing. That's why the Monday night group lifted up the theme of rest in the fall. It's a theme that showed up in their conversations. It's a theme that shows up in many of the self-care articles and ads that you probably find in your inbox or the magazines you read or your social media feeds. Why should we rest? There are plenty of health reasons to rest, for our physical health, for our mental health. And you can read about those reasons and subjects in a lot of places. But we're here at church specifically to listen to the word that is the Bible. Our passage today tells us that rest is essential to our spiritual health, that it's part of how we're made, that rest is one of the 10 commandments that God gives us for relating to God and relating to other people. Rest is one of the top 10 things that God asks us and wants us to do. The commandment, and you can see this in Exodus as Carolyn read it, the commandment to rest, it echoes back to the creation story in Genesis, when we read that for 6 days God created, and then on the 7th day, after God was done all of the creating and all the work that entailed, on the 7th day God rested. The fourth commandment, as it's written in Exodus, tells us that we are to observe the Sabbath because God rested on the 7th day. And not just that we're to observe it for ourselves, but that we're to make sure that the people who work for us, that even our animals, pets came up a lot in Time for Wonder as being connected with rest, that all of the other things that we have control over that we can invite to rest, that we get to do that too. Genesis tells us we're created in God's image. We rest because God rested. We rest because we're made in the image of our Creator who rested. Both the story of creation in Genesis and the commandment to rest in Exodus lift up the way that rest is woven into creation, the way that it's woven into our very existence, into the rhythms that sustain us, and the rhythms that sustain the world we live in, the earth we live on.